as well. So you can catch me on my YouTube channels, Twanna Carter. I am an anxiety and career coach. So we want to give everybody just a few seconds to join in. And thanks so much for watching today. And I'd like to say good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are watching from. As you pop on, give me a thumbs up and let me know where you're watching from. I love travel. I love to travel, so I'm always interested in where people come from and where people hail from. Um, I plan on traveling to several countries later on this year. Again, I love travel. My dad was in the military, so I really got used to traveling, and I still do. Traveled quite a bit with my girls as well. Um, and I kind of gave them the travel bug too. I think they like it as much as I do. They used to get a little antsy when we didn't travel. Um, so again, today's topic we're going to be talking about. Um, I've spoken to a lot of people the last couple of months, and I've spoken to a lot of people. I am an anxiety and career coach, but I've spoken to a lot of ladies who are managers and or who have aspirations to be managers and are a little concerned about, can I be a manager and have anxiety? Can I do both of those at the same time? Do I need to wait till I get over anxiety until I become a manager? And I am definitely here to say, absolutely not. You do not have to wait. Um, you can manage your anxiety and you can manage your team and your employees right along with it. Never a problem at all. It's just a matter of being prepared, knowing the steps that you need to take. But yes, you can manage anxiety and manage employees. We're all human. When you become a manager, you don't stop being a human being, right? This is like we got to manage. You can't, if you can't have anxiety and be a manager, well, can you have high blood pressure not and be a manager? Well, of course you can. You simply need to you simply need to manage, right? Manage and put in some steps, take care of yourself, and those sorts of things. But it's just like anybody, if someone had diabetes, you have diabetes, are you not going to be a manager? Absolutely not. You're going to have diabetes and still be a manager because you will manage your diabetes and make sure that you're taking the steps to do what you need to do to manage the diabetes. And so, without further ado, let me say this, that if you're catching me on Facebook and you are in my group, I have a Rising Above Anxiety group. If you want to comment in real time so that I can see your comments, you can go over to my business page and catch me there. The same thing, I am sharing this on my timeline. You're more than welcome to make comments where you are, and I can see the comments when I'm done. Or if you want to comment in real time, which I would appreciate if you come to my Facebook page, my business page, like it and let me know you're there. So, and also share it. We're talking about anxiety and being a manager today. And so, if you would share that, I would appreciate it. And for those of you on YouTube, thanks for joining. And so, without further ado, let's get started. So, yes, absolutely, yes, you can manage your team and you can manage your anxiety. Okay, so what I've done is condense this down to 5 tips. My 5 tips for new managers or fairly new managers or someone who's thinking about being a manager. Okay, so the first thing that I would recommend is it starts with an A. Okay, and those of you looking at this later on, you'll see that it says a team. The A stands for authentic. Be authentically you. Don't be some other manager or some other people. Be authentically you. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be who you are because that's what people are going to respond to. And at the end of the day, you are who they hired to be a manager. They didn't hire someone else. They hired you. You interview, you were chosen because of how you showed up. So when you show up to be a manager, you need to be authentically you, not someone else. Okay? Because when you're trying to be someone else, it comes off as false. It comes off as fake. And people can see that. right? They can see that. Okay. And so the next thing is T. Above all, take care of your team. As a manager, you now have responsibility for a group of people, your team. There's nothing worse than you may have had this situation happen to you. There is nothing worse than being a part of a team and the manager is only out for the manager. Could care less what happens to the team. Could care less what aspiration his or her team have. I've unfortunately been on some teams like that. You know, as a manager, take care of your team. Get to know your team intimately. What are their aspirations? Do they want to be a manager someday? Do they want to train for this job? Know your team. Who has significant others? Who's married? Who has kids? Okay, those things are important. If you are always wanting to call an overnighter or a late nighter, and you've got most of your team have kids, that's going to be difficult. Babysitters can only babysit for so long. Daycares only stay open for so long. And if you have to keep tagging someone else to pick up your kids, that's difficult to manage. So, but if you know your team and you have these expectations set up there, you know about when you can do that and how often, right? And so I'm certainly not saying have preferential treatment, but be understanding. Okay, if you have someone that has younger kids, understand it, bet on it all day long. They're gonna catch something. And so if someone comes to you and says, hey, I have a sick child, I have to do XYZ, be understanding. There's nothing worse. And I was a single mom of three. And I was so blessed that I had managers who understood. There's nothing worse than having two sick kids. I've been there, yes. Two sick kids running fever. They can't go to daycare. They can't go to school. And you have to stay at home to take care of those kids. And I had wonderful managers when my kids were growing up, and they're like, hey, take all the time you need, do what you need to do. Okay. So as a manager, take care of your team and understand those types of things. Okay. Because it's important. The other thing, and take care of your team, your job as a manager is to mentor and build future leaders. That's just a part of your job. Great managers build great future leaders. Take care of your team. You will have people on your team who want to be managers. You will also have people on your team who are specialists. They don't want to manage, but they're subject matter experts. They're happy where they are. Okay? They just want to be trained to always be sure they stay on top of their game because they're subject matter experts. Again, it goes into taking care of your team and knowing your team. Know who's on the upward track and who wants to be groomed to move on. Know your subject matter experts who are happy where they are. Okay? Take care of everybody the way that they present it to you and want to be taken care of. So I think I kind of got that one right. Take care of our team. One more time. Take care of your team. That's why you're the manager, because you take care of your team. I'm sorry, one more time. Take care of your team. Okay. The letter E is the next one, is expectations. Have expectations for your team. Nothing worse than a wishy-washy manager. You ask a question and you never understand what the answer is. You don't know what the priorities are. You don't know what the goals are. You don't know what the visions are. Absolutely frustrating as a team member if your manager never tells you. You just never stand on solid ground. Okay. Now I was in the Army, like I said before, and I remember my battalion commander said there are two types of people who make general. There are people who make all the right decisions and they make general, and there are people who make no decisions. Therefore, they're never proven wrong or make bad decisions. You always want to work for the other one that makes the right decisions, because leaders or managers who don't make decisions are so wishy-washy. It's hard to trust because you don't ever know if they have your back. Don't be that kind of leader. Set your expectations. Understand rather what your management philosophy is. Do have one. Let your team know the expectations, and then let your team know what you expect of yourself, because you should have expectations for yourself as well, right? And you'll see me look down every couple of moments because I want to be sure I get everything here. But again, set expectations, set them high, okay? But this goes back to understanding your team. Because again, you have some people who are subject matter experts, you have some who want to be on a managerial track, and you may have some that have just come in, they're getting to know things and they still need to move up. You need to individually know every member of your team, and you lead that person based on his or her strengths and their challenges. Okay? You set the expectations. Everyone needs to meet or exceed the expectations, but you still manage them individually, because you may have a team with people that are all over. But if you are a good manager and you do it right, you can manage and grow that team so that they all come up to that level and they all excel in the manner in which they want to excel. I've known people who just are happy being a subject matter expert. They just do their job where they are. They don't want to be pushed to be managers, so don't push them if that's not what they want. You can certainly encourage it if you see it in them, but don't push them. If they say that's not what I want, it's not what I want. And just because they don't want to be a manager doesn't mean they have low expectations. They still got to meet your expectations, okay? So we got that one covered. So the next one is actively encourage communications. Very important. Actively encourage communications. You want to communicate down to your team. You want to communicate up to your supervisors, and you want to communicate sideways or across to your leaders who may be managing other teams to your left or your right. Very important. Always actively encourage communications. Very important. And communications is a dialogue. So this is not always you talking. It's a dialogue. So your team, if you do it right, your team will talk back to you. Your managers on the left or right, other team managers, they will talk back to you. Theoretically, your manager will talk to you and spread that out so that everybody is communicating and they feel free. That's the best way to grow the team, is actively encourage communications. Okay. And so the last one that I have is manage your energy, manage your time, and manage your employees. That means you're not doing everything. This is a little word that starts with a D. Delegation. As a manager, you should do that all the time. Of course, you set expectations, so your team knows you're going to work as hard as they do, but you're not going to do everything. You're going to be a manager. Managers manage people who do things. And certainly, I've done this as a leader. Now, if we were short and some things need to get done, I didn't, crack the whip out on my team like, get it done, get it done. No, I had no problems jumping down with my team and working when we were shorthanded. That's okay. But when you're done and the emergency is over, you go back up and you manage your team. Here's why managing your energy is so important. And it's really important to know if you're an extrovert and an introvert. For my introverts out there, you will need to manage your energy. If if you're cyclical, or that times are coming up, you're going to be putting in a lot of extra work, you need to manage that. Okay? Because as an extrovert, you know that we rejuvenate. I say I'm an extrovert. We rejuvenate alone. We rejuvenate individually. But sometimes if you're on and you need a lot of energy, that means you may need to reorganize some things at home so that you're taking extra time to do your rejuvenation and be in solitude and read or meditate, whatever it is you do, because you need to manage your energy when you have the high energy. Okay? Managing your time and your energy keeps you from always being a doer and doing things. You delegate to your team and you manage your energy and you manage your time. This will also help you manage your anxiety because you're not overwhelmed, because you have so much work to do and you're trying to do all of your team's work because you hadn't learned how to be a manager. It takes a little time, and some of us are a little, we feel like, oh, if I delegate, are they going to see I'm being bossy? Don't worry about it. Delegate. That's what they want to do. Most people want to work. They want to get in there and get the work, do a good job, impress you, get a good write-up evaluation, and then move up. Okay? So if you're doing all that work, they can't do that. Right? You got to be a manager and manage your people. It's important to take time out. And also to remember, I think I mentioned this before, I want to be sure I understand this, is under expectations for your team. I want you to understand when we set expectations that you will be emotional. That's important. Number one, we're managers. We're not perfect. We didn't become little mini gods when they bestow, oh, here you are, a manager. You're now perfect. No mistakes, no emotions. Absolutely not. You're going to be emotional. And some people's like, oh my gosh, she said that E word. If you're happy, you're emotional. If you're sad, you're emotional. If you're pissed off and angry, you're emotional. Manage it. Expect it. Okay? Set your expectations and expect it. Right? If you got low energy because you're sick, we're human. It means you need to maybe take some time off. Encourage your team to take time off if they're sick. But because you're a manager, it doesn't mean you're not emotional anymore. Now, and that's important. The reason why I say this is because of this. When you have anxiety, if it pops in and you find yourself or that you're emotional, take that time out and go manage. 10 deep breaths from the diaphragm or 10 minutes of deep breathing turns you off for fight or flight. It activates that side of your mind, that part of your mind that can strategically think, make decisions on the logical side. 2 minutes or 10 deep breaths, and you can manage your emotions and manage your anxiety. Okay? Same thing goes for your team, right? You're going to manage people who have anxiety. You're going to manage people who have high blood pressure, diabetes, schizophrenia, depression, all of that. Know your team. Now, I'm not saying that they need to disclose to you, but you can pick up moves and you can pick up energy patterns of your team and kind of know, like, okay, because I was like this. Again, I'm single parent of 3 kids. Every year between March and May, my kids' school systems decided to fit every field trip they possibly could in. It was soccer season, and track season and soccer season kind of ran up against each other. So I had some people in track. I had some of them that were in soccer, and then they were in chorus, and then they were in band. So all the field trips, all the soccer tournaments, all the track meets, all the concerts, all of that happened between March and May. I was a different person between March and May, right? But if you manage your team and your team communicates to you, you can understand that I know why you're like this. It's another field trip, isn't it? It's another nightly thing that you got to do, isn't it? You got to go volunteer, isn't it? What time did you get home from the baseball game last night? Again, if you're taking care of your team and you know your people individually, you understand that people's energies is going to fluctuate. We're all human. Because we're employees, it doesn't make us non-humans. And because we're managers, it doesn't make us non-human. Okay? So again, yes, you can be a manager and manage your anxiety at the same time. Just take my tips, and if you're paying attention out there, and for those of you on YouTube, I'll put it out there. But my tips say a team, because you're managing a team. Treat them like a team of human beings. Okay? You're a human being, they're a human being. Take care of them, and you will be successful. Okay? So if you're out there listening, for those of you who are listening, and I didn't check down here. I got 2 comments. Let's see. Hold on just a second here. My my Facebook is slow. I'm trying to find my comments out here, and my Facebook is doing something else. Hey, Kim Leah, and hey, Valerie. Thanks for popping in to watch. Let me pop back over to my other Facebook to be sure. Yes, okay. I see you out there. Thanks for popping in, Valerie. That's why I have several screens open of everything so I can actually go back in and see the comments. But yes, so those are my motivational nuggets for you today. Is manage a team. Okay, be authentically you. Take care of your team. All right. Set high expectations. Nothing with setting high expectations. Reasonable but high is good, right? Actively communicate to your team. Manage your energy, manage your time, and manage your team so they're doing all the doing. You're delegating so that they do the doing, and you can manage your anxiety with all of that. Those are my motivational nuggets for you today. Everybody take care and have a great rest of the week.